Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. When I pick my articles to talk about, to analyze and discuss whatever happens around the world, I have to be careful, obviously, because of YouTube. So if I pick, let's say, Sputnik or Russia Today or an unaccredited site, even if they tell the truth, if that runs around against these guys' policy, they will have a problem with. But if the same thing is published in a accredited news by a news outlet, like I don't know, Reuters, Associated Press, or Agence France Press, BBC, or other garbage, it's acceptable. Therefore, when I find an interesting article with an interesting title, I'm afraid to discuss it because I don't know if this guy's gonna say this is misinformation or whatever they might say. So I'm waiting until it's published, reported by an Western media outlet. That's exactly what happened in this case, and it has to do with Canada and their communist, not communist, tyrannical, I would say, prime minister and the guys behind him and around him. Miss Friedland, she's one of those guys. Now, what happened? They're about to have a law that could imprison people for life for free speech offenses. And I first found this in Sputnik, right here. What's inside Trudeau's Orwellian speech law threatening jail time for thought crimes? Question mark. What's up, cat? All right, she's here. So I said, well, I'm gonna wait. I don't know if this imbecile, maybe these are the Russians, blah, blah, blah. But I found this one by Fox News. Therefore, I gain a little bit more credibility in the eyes of the, weasels in charge of the truth. Canadian law endorsed by Trudeau government could imprison people for life for speech crimes. A Canadian law that aims to make social media platforms safer in getting flack for what some decry as government overreach. Introduced late last month, the Online Harms Act, or Bill C-63, would allow judges, unelected if I remember correctly, to imprison adults for life if they advocate for genocide. The law, this is what these guys say, I'm going to read what the Russians say. The law would also allow a provincial judge to impose house arrest and fine if there were reasonable grounds to believe a defendant will commit an offense. They can predict the future. A provisional Wall Street Journal columnist, Michael Taubey, liked to the 2002 film, you don't want to come? Okay, stay there. Minority Report. I know, Michael. Okay, great. You step on everything, mother. That's just my cat. All right. So, Margaret Atwood, author of The Handmaid's Tale, has criticized the bill as Orwellian. If this account of the bill is true, it's letters of cachet all over again. Latrice of cachet all over again. The possibilities for revenge, false accusations, plus thought crime should or are so inviting. Trudeau's Orwellian online harms bill. All right, so let's see here. Citing a government spokesperson, the bill would increase the maximum penalty specifically for advocating genocide from 5 years to life imprisonment, and from 2 years to 5 years or indictment for the willful promotion of hatred. So, from 2 to 5 years on indictment for the willing promotion of hatred. He argued, let's go back to this ones. Sputnik, what's inside this bill? Canadians got their first rude awakening about the limits to their constitutional blah 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 privileges, temporary privileges, freedoms during the Freedom Convoy protest in February of 2022, when, in a crackdown on truckers objecting to draconian COVID restrictions, the Trudeau government invoked the Emergencies Act, allowing authorities to jail organizers and seize their bank accounts. Now that's abuse. In my books. Sweeping online safety, quote-unquote, legislation in Canada proposed by Liberal Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's government, threatening penalties up to life imprisonment for speech crimes, that's what these guys say, and real sentences for thought crimes, have civil rights groups sounding the alarm. The legislation, known as the Online Harms Act, Bill C-63, was tabled by Justice Minister Arif Virani in February and proposes amending Canada's criminal code to promote the online safety in the name of safety. These guys are going to impose tyranny to keep some safe for the common good. For the common good, we're going to jail you. And you're going to stay in a cell and you're going to be all safe in the jail. We're going to have the key, by the way, not you. But you're going to be safe over there as long as we want. Canada, as a result of harmful content online, and ensure that the operators of social media services are transparent and accountable with respect to their duties. End quote. What's wrong with the bill? At first glance, some of the legislation's content seems reasonable, with Virani leaning into the bill's benevolent goal of protecting children. That's fine. From online sexual exploitation, hate, and cyberbullying. End quote. The draft law would require the mandatory reporting of online child pornography, the deletion of content advocating self-harm, and punishments for persons accused of advocating genocide, end quote, or hate crimes, end quote. It says or, based on race, national or ethnic origin, language, color, sex, age, mental and physical disability, sexual orientation or gender identity or expression. Do you understand that? If someone deems that's hateful towards them, you're guilty. I'll go through a process and you know how it goes. Upon deeper inspection, however, the problems with the legislation quickly start to become evident, with penalties for speech crimes ranging from 2, 5, or 10 years in jail or even imprisonment for life, and the extremely broad and liberal definition of hate crimes, including crimes a judge deems someone, quote unquote, will commit. A judge. At some point in the future, a judge determines that. Sparking concerns that the law will be used to crack down on political opponents or anyone speaking out against powerful people or groups. The Canadian Civil Liberties Association has called attention to the bill's draconian penalties. Don't come here, cat. I know you just woke up. You're kind of dizzy now. Let me help you. All right, good turn of events. Hey, you want to do something with my book that I'm reading? Yeah. I'm okay. Where you want to go? No. You can't go that way, mofo. Now, where you want to go? I don't want you to go. And believe me, this is kind of like my thing here. I know it's only rock and roll, but I can't let you go over there. Poor cat. I know. And you're sleepy. Let me transport you right here. Maybe you like it here. No, look outside. Let me take this away. All right. We got a compromise for now. Remember, for now. The screen blocks your view. Okay. Here, I move the screen. All yours. What I do for a cat. So, powers we propose Digital Safety Commission and Digital Safety Ombudsperson would receive to regulate social media, warning that the draft law threatens to undermine the principles of proportionality and fairness in Canada's justice system and chill speech thanks to inevitable problems in distinguishing between political activism, passionate debate, and offensive speech. And we have this Ukrainian so Orwellian. And we have the proposed life in prison means someone who writes something that a government official decides is advocating genocide will face a longer maximum sentence than someone who rapes a child, Moore warned. And I'm quoting, and what might count as advocating genocide? Question mark. Today, there are prominent politicians around the world who say that supporters of Israel are advocating the genocide of the Palestinian people, and that supporters of Hamas are advocating genocide against Jewish people. Imagine if they were in power under Trudeau's legislation, would they not be able to send their political enemies in prison for life? And I'm ending the quote. The author asked, let's see what Poilievre said. He said, what does Justin Trudeau mean when he says the words hate speech? He means the speech he hates? You can assume he will ban all of that, Poilievre said. And I'm quoting, I point out the irony that someone who spent the first half of his adult life as a practicing racist, who dressed up in hideous racist costumes so many times he says he can't remember them. I have to look around the cat. Remember them all. Should then be the arbiter of what constitutes hate? What he should actually do is looking into his own heart and ask himself why he was such a hateful racist, end quote, Poilievre. It doesn't work that way, my friend. Referencing to surfacing of scandalous photos in 2019 of Mr. Trudeau wearing a black and brown face costumes at parties in his youth. Well, you feel offended? I can feel offended left and right. So that's another thing that I don't think people should care. I can wear whatever fucking mask I want, kabuki mask if I want, okay? If you feel offended, go off, all right? Because I'm offended of you, right there. I don't like you. Oh, look at those eyes, googly eyes. So you see, I can get offended every second. Why my feeling of being offended doesn't count? Because it's all political, all right? That's what it is. Let's go move forward here. What happens next? Nothing. So the Online Harms Act is the second time the Trudeau government has sought to restrict free speech online through legislation, with an easier version of the bill known as C-36 introduced in 2021, but scrapped after an election was called and the parliament was dissolved. The new bill is undergoing a review by a special parliamentary committee and by the Canadian Senate, which both chambers are able to propose amendments before... Moves fast. Elvis has left the building. All right, so come back. So both chambers able to propose amendments before a parliamentary vote is taken. Trudeau presides over the minority government, with the Liberal requiring the support of the New Democratic Party. So, what do you think, my friends? I think it's bad enough as it is. These guys are doing stuff that are aimed at all of us. Now, who supports this in a way is reported in these two articles. Remember, you might support certain things now, but they will be turned around and used against you whenever they feel confident or they feel the need. And since those guys who probably will support this fully are weak people, they will be okay being caged by other people. I personally refuse to do that. So I will fight it as much as I can. No, this can't be happening in Canada, but unfortunately, Canada lost its, I think, its democratic institutional values a long time ago. And since Canada is not Canada anymore, it's something else, and it's becoming something else. The same as the United States of America, but slower because it's a bigger boat. Bigger boats usually sink a little bit slower. What, 40 million people? Just like this. Here, my friends, this is democracy nowadays, and this is in Canada. Now, if this would have happened, let's say, in Russia, how do you think the titles will be? And I'm talking about all the New York Times and all the Associated Press and Reuters and BBC and all this garbage. Putin, these guys see democracy, freedom of speech. What's going on? They tell us that the elections in Russia are already skewed and are already wrong and already stolen without even, these are election deniers, aren't they? But nevertheless, they tell us about this one. Well, nothing to see here. That's okay. Remember, a law, or at least something that pretends to be just, has to be across the board, right? And then if you want first not infringe your freedoms, your liberties, and then you have a judge who's going to interpret that. Can you believe that? How did you get so far? How did we get so far? How did we allow to get this far? And then they think people will not say something or do something about it? The cycle of civilization, I think it's eight steps, if I remember, 8 or 9. Now we are, I think in the latest. A spark could cause a little problem, if you know what I mean. I don't even know if I'm allowed to say it here. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.